Hi, this is Amanda.
And this is Jen.
And you're listening to Just This, a podcast that explores everything around being and becoming a mother or parent.
We're excited to have you join us as we dive into the practical details as well as the unseen energetics on topics that span from preconception to years after birth.
All right, so we have Patricia here with us today. We're very excited to bring a new perspective and a new insight on something I think that's going to be actually really cool to talk about. How do you pronounce your last name, Patricia? Just so I don't.
Patricia Lohan.
Lohan? Okay.
Yeah, Lohan, yeah.
Looking at Parashketi, that's on your Zoom.
Oh, Parashakti. Oh, yeah, that's my spiritual name.
I like that. Okay. Do you go like by Patricia Parashakti, or do you go
I
by...
just go by Patricia. I forgot that I had that up.
Okay.
I forget.
Well, welcome. We're super stoked. I'm going to let you kind of introduce yourself, and then I have a lot of questions and
yes,
kind of things. But yeah, why don't you go ahead and just introduce kind of the work you do, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Patricia. I'm from the west of Ireland. I live in Dublin and then also in Greece, or sometimes you'll find me in Bali, currently in Gainesville. But I help women bring harmony, balance and joy into their homes and then their hearts using the practice of Feng Shui. And I've been doing it since 2015. And yeah, it's just a passion of mine. I've been interested in Feng Shui since I was 15. And I just think that like the key to really having an amazing life and getting to enjoy this amazing gift that we have that we call life is to use all the resources that we have on hand, look after our own physical body, our temple and our home and the environment we're in. And when we can tap into some of the ancient techniques, just like Feng Shui, it can really help us create more magic and joy on this planet.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive into this. Many of us work from home to some extent now, right? The energetics and the environment that we're in can make such a difference in so many things. So I'm super stoked to dive into this on so many levels. Our whole audience spans from like fertility all the way through post-birth, and how these physical surroundings and like the small changes that we make to them can actually make changes in every part of this journey. Yeah. It seems like you've worked with many, many, many women. I'm sure with mothers or soon to be mothers out there as well. I would love to hear, like, I guess, Jen, you can jump in if you have any specific questions, but I was just thinking we could start from even preconception and then kind of like even some of the stories you've had or experiences you've had working with people all the way to post-birth. I know when we get to the post-birth stuff, like my specialty is in postpartum and I have a ton of questions. How do I keep my environment in this energetic communication when I have children all around you?
Yeah. Well, just the stuff, the items that expand into the house, and
the cat grows, the items grow. And I just want to state too, like going into this, I'm all about like woo energetics. And I think we forget that our like we are grounded. We are here in this, like this tangible material world. And that is part of the conversation, like we're having in that whole as within, so without. The without is actually part of the as without, so within. Probably it's like a cycle and a receptivity thing. So I'm super excited to dive into this today. Yeah.
Amazing. So first of all, it's obvious for some people and other people, it's just not at all. It's like, because we haven't been brought up in a world that everything is energy and your physical environment matters. And that's like the first thing I would say is that people often come in, oh, that makes sense, but it's never been kind of brought to light. And I just really appreciate this opportunity for you to bring me on to like bring light to the subject of your home, and also to really answer this, because I just think about like the introduction of things like Instagram and Pinterest. They've a lot to be answerable for in terms of this perfect home and this striving for these like immaculate perfection and oh my God, all these like posts and that's not what Feng Shui is about. And I really want people to kind of eliminate that desire of having a nice house and having aesthetically pretty, but it's not like yearning desire. I just want everyone in my house who comes in to feel warm and feel welcomed and sleep well and get on well. And for my clients, I want their family to get on great. I want them to be healthy and vibrant and doing great and thriving. And the aesthetics are not the key to that. So it's kind of like speaking to that first, because if you kind of take that away, then we're moving into a much deeper level with the practice and with the idea of Feng Shui. This practice is like 5,000 years old. Ancient sages basically studied the stars and studied nature to create a practice that would bring nature, the whole phenomena of the balance of living in nature into our physical environment. So if we think about from that idea that your home is built like a structure. It's just like kind of built in a housing estate. You just pop it up here, you move in, whatever. There's very little thought put into like where the house is and how it's going to affect you. And your home has basically when your house is built, it takes on a specific energetic imprint. And that imprint basically is impacting you and your family and your health and your capacity to conceive without you being aware of it. So this whole conversation is about like consciously connecting with your environment, being like, wow, like this is actually impacting me, whether I like it or not. Whether you do something about it or not, it is impacting you. And from that preconception, I just think I'm kind of going into a client story at the very beginning, because I had a client who really wanted to have a child. It just wasn't happening. It still wasn't happening. We came to her house, feng shui to her house. And interestingly enough, one of the areas of our home was like literally energetically aligned with difficult to conceive. Like the energy was just, this is not going to be an easy home to conceive. And it just wasn't. We ended up doing the balance and it just was not a good house for them to live or even for them to bring children into it. And basically the universe conspiring there, they actually just made the decision, like this is not what people have to do. It's like, you don't have to move house. You can actually balance it. But they ended up moving and she was just sending me pictures of her little boy. And I was like, this is amazing. But it was like the change of environment really does make a difference. And my sense of it was that the child that wanted to come in didn't want to come into that house because of the things it would have caused and created. So it didn't. It came in another place, which is good. But in terms of that idea that it is impacting your environment, and from a preconception energy, I like to talk to people in terms of creating the space for a child to come in, but also it's all about your relationship with your partner. Like that actually is the fundamental part. And I would say from a feng shui perspective, I always say to people, especially who are, in that kind of that fertility journey, is start with your bedroom. Start with your physical bedroom. Like literally go to your bedroom and go, does this room represent a sanctuary? Does this feel like myself and my husband have co-created this space? Does it feel warm? Does it feel inviting? Does it feel like, the office? And I literally was just to have a talk, and I was talking about this client I had in New York, and I went into their apartment. She's been trying to have a baby. I go in, I walk right beside the bed, like literally right beside the bed was like a pile of paperwork higher than the bed on the husband's side. There's 3 people in this relationship. There's like you, his work, and her, you and him and his work. There's no way a baby's going to come into this world, into this apartment, into this room, into this space. Like there's no space. So it was like, that has to go. And like, no matter how big or small your house is, this is a Manhattan apartment. I was like, get it out. I don't care where it goes, but it is not going to be in your bedroom. You have to create this sanctuary for you and your partner. The other things were like images. In the bedroom, there was pictures of her grandfather, pictures of friends, pictures of all these other distractions. And it's like, no, your bedroom needs to be a space for you and your partner. Nobody else, no spiritual statues, no friends, no parents, none of that. You don't want them watching you while you're in bed, So we're laughing and I'm like, yeah, but I've seen it all.
It's funny that you say that. So I'm a single mom. So in the dating scene world, and I have a picture of my son, and it's always do I need to move this so that it's not, where do I put him? Because I kind of do want him in my room. But at the same time, I do think about it. It's so funny. There's like a picture and sometimes it faces the bed. I wonder what people think of this.
Gone out of your bedroom. And actually, this is a great one for your children's bedroom. So for your son's room, amazing to have a picture of yourself and your son. That's really affirming of your family, of the connection you have with him. Family photos are perfect in your children's bedrooms, 100%. But in your bedroom, no way. Like if you want to call in love, you need to have a picture of a picture of a couple together in an image that you'd like to be doing with them. So like whether it's like you like spending time in forests, get a picture of a couple in a forest, whatever that thing is that feels good. And it doesn't even need to be as blatant as couple in a painting or a piece of art. It could be two birds, like lovebirds. That idea, like it has to be in pairs. I think of a client I worked with years ago, and we were looking to sell. She hired me to sell her house. But as I walked around the house, obviously she told me she was single. She wanted to call in love. And we walked around, there was all these hearts, there's like wicker hearts. And there was, I counted 18 hearts. Oh, cause it's like the Lonely Hearts Club. Cause they were like one heart everywhere. And the single imagery, and this is really important for us all, for women in particular, whether you're in a relationship or single. I've seen it for couples in particular. There's a couple together, and then there is a lot of singular images in a house it depends, but the instance I've seen is like the woman ends up being at home a lot, on her own a lot, and kind of like the partner or husband is gone away, out of sight, not around as much, works away from home, so there's that kind of like distance. Whereas what you can use your home for a vision board for your future, like for what it is that you're creating. So the bedroom is important. Create that sanctuary, get the phone out, cover the TV, set it up that you're both love it and you want to be in that space and it feels supportive. And then from that next perspective, like moving from that would be, that idea of like calling in, I have a client who we work together to feng shui our house for a baby. They called in the baby. And then, the second child, they were hoping to have a second child, and they went to the doctor. And the doctor was just like, well, no, it's like physically impossible. You can't have a child. And she's like, no, but I have one. And she's like, no, you can't. And she's like, but I have one. So like, he's like, don't even know how you had that. Like, it's a total miracle. You're like, yeah, that's how this place works. So she's like, okay. She came to me and she's like, Patricia, what the hell? Like, I know I've had one. Thank you very much. So what the hell? So we just walked around, and actually she had a lot of images of like a little statue of a couple holding a little baby. And I was like, okay, well, this is exactly where you are. And oftentimes people's houses reflect where they are in life, not where they want to be. So there was obviously pictures of the two of them with the baby. Like, so there was a lot of that around the house, but there was no images of like fours, and that could be subtle. Like it could be two elephants, like a mom and dad elephant and two little elephants, subtle in the kind of fours and thinking about like that energy. So with her, she had this statue with a couple of babies. So we just put another little ornament beside it. And I was like, here you go. Now you have the baby, we looked at the images around the house to be like, make space, like where, if you had a second baby, where are they going to sleep? What's it going to look like? What's the setup for that?
I love that. Yeah. We've talked about that before, and I think it's so true. The first, like just creating the space for the being to come in. And then I really love that whole comment about oftentimes our surroundings reflect where we are in life and not where we're wanting to go. I mean, there's just beyond, could be integrated to motherhood, but beyond motherhood, even just simple things I've heard of, like the next level of yourself, just little things. Okay, what would the person who was in that state, what are some of the things they'd have around them, whether that's even a piece of jewelry they'd be wearing, or like something simple as we upgraded our bathroom recently with a nice towel space, be a little bit more luxury looking, and it totally has changed the space just by the towel setup we have there in the bathroom. And it feels, I actually had my mom comment on it last time she visited. She was like, wow, it's just such small things. And it actually, people notice them, or even as a guest, was very obvious. And I think even for myself, it makes me feel a little bit more next level. So I really,
And it's like, it can be, I just love how you brought in the towel rack. I had a client who lost her job. She was just like, oh, my prosperity area is my toilet. What am I going to do? And make it the most luxurious toilet. You ever made. Get fresh flowers and nice soap in it and fluffy bath mat. Make it feel good. That's the whole idea. This is about making a home, make the place feel good, make the bedroom feel good. What are the things that you can just subtle things that can feel good. And even, so I'm in an Airbnb and, obviously I can't change much around and bring things, but like I bought myself a candle the other day. It smells so good. Like a little sense of home. So it doesn't need to be big things. And a really big thing for me around this as well is that like, don't be beating up your house or beating yourself up for your house. This isn't striving for perfection. And if it's not how you want it to be, read and be like, what's the kitchen? What's my dream kitchen going to look like? Go price it. Go check it out, print it out, put a picture of it in the inside of the kitchen. That's going to be next. And in our house in Ireland, we actually got our whole kitchen like sprayed, whole new kitchen. And it cost €1,000. People are coming on, you need your kitchen. And I'm like, yeah, we did. Literally, it was like it looks like it's totally different. So those subtle things can make a big difference. So it's not about overhauling. It's more about completely new or being grateful for what you have. And I think this also was a big thing, appreciation. I feel a lot, especially if we're on this Zoom and you're listening to this, you have a home, you may have a job, you have a family, you have people. We have a lot, and it's just like appreciation for what you have, appreciation that you have a home. There's so much of this looking out for what you want out there. And this again, especially with my clients on the fertility journey. And I'm like, this is the most precious time with your partner. This is the most precious time. Don't taint this time with your partner in pain and angst and fear and worry. You're going to stop it. Like it's just going to create strife. And you've got this amazing person in your life. Why the bedroom is so important. Want to enhance your relationship. Really focus on that and treasure this time. A really big, strong one for me. And with my clients, I'm like always saying, we do it a weekly with our clients, like focusing on what their wins are, what are the things happened this week. So we're coming from a very different mindset and a very different energetic. And we're so blessed to have it and really deeply feeling that. And so blessed to have a partner that, wants to have a child or that's there. That's so what other people would love. So just really that depth of appreciation is a really big one for me with my clients around their environment. We have a house. Amazing.
I love that in general. You go and I also with the setting up with a partner. The other beautiful thing in this too is like you said, like things get busy and the time goes by so fast. But if you're making a subtle shift before conception, then you can have those reflect even hopefully beyond into pregnancy and beyond what either cultivating the energy of the relationship separate from being parents, which is probably something you've dealt with clients as well.
Yes.
Continuing to cultivate and nourish that in Feng Shui way that and beyond just because it oftentimes moves into, okay, we're trying to create this baby. We create the baby and then now we're just parents and the relationship is usually deprioritized.
Yeah.
Forgotten.
This is why I think it's so important to create that environment, that bedroom, like the sanctuary. When you create that sanctuary for yourselves, then you're going to want to spend time there and you're going to have it. And you have to train your children to that because if they see you with the bedroom that's created like a sanctuary and calm, they do it. They are learning by osmosis everything that you do with your physical environment. So it's keeping and tending to your house. They then learn that and it's that kind of, and not getting stressed about the small stuff around the house. When it comes to like in terms of the idea of fertility journey and even throughout pregnancy and all onwards is making sure, and this exercise I think is so useful it's called Fresh Eyes and just starting outside your front door and just imagine your house as a person and you just kind of connect with it. I'm just going to start with this journey moving through. Does feeling everything like, does the door have friction? That means there's friction, the front door. It means there's energy, stopping energy coming in, which is what we want in our body. Like women, we need the energy, the chi flowing in our bodies. It's the same goes for our house and it's a mirror. So if the door is like jamming, it's going to reflect that in your life. The chi, the energy is just not coming in. So get that sorted, make it easy to open. Make sure that when you walk in that your spirits rise. What's the first thing you see when you come in is like a picture of you and your partner on a really happy day that you're just like, oh yeah. Is it all the piles of shoes and the coats and you can't get in the door, creating that sense of overwhelm? And that has to be set up from before you start with the children. You have to kind of set that up beforehand because if you don't, you'll just get more because that's, Jennifer, you said like, and then it just expands and you're like, okay, well, if you don't have those kind of principles in place and you can implement them afterwards. But, in the start, you're like, okay, well, how do I want to live? I want to walk in and know that I want my spirits to rise when I walk into this house and feel good. So what's going to do that? And then as you move around the space, just look for anything that's not working, anything that's broken, anything that's leaking, anything that's cracked. That's depleting your energy as well, because it's a mirror. And even that fact that if there's stuff like that around the house, it also reflects not ending to the house, but also to yourself. So there's that sense of like self-care. Like as you look after your home, it starts to look after you. It's like this reciprocal relationship. And in Feng Shui, every part of your home represents a different part of your life. So you've got the health area, the career area, the wealth area, the fertility area. And I'll talk about the fertility area in a second, but each area represents a different part of your life. If you have a leaking tap and it happens to be your health area, or if you have broken computer that's just left there in some area, that's there broken, but it's also in that part of your life. So it's physically taking space and depleting the energy of that part of your life. So it's a very powerful practice to kind of become more conscious of what's happening in your home. And fresh eyes is this idea of just, does this represent where I am? Does it represent my past? A lot of houses can be a shrine to your past, or where I am going.
Yeah, that's, it's interesting. The entryway one is challenging. We have snow so tiny and I'm trying to get everyone inside so we can shut the door and take off the shoes. I am curious about locations where they kind of pile up with stuff. They call it like the drop zone of things, which is usually a table, which I feel is like pretty normal. But then there's those places of piles that.
Okay. So there's two parts. And I think it addressed one of your other questions earlier. It's important for me, just my differentiation for me with clutter and life. The dishes on the counter from this morning, that's called life. The laundry cupboard that has lots of laundry is life. It always gets done. Release a bit of pressure. Okay, that's just life. It's fine. It's moving. It is moving. The chi is moving. It's fine. The kids' toys in the playroom, like all over the place, or the room, there's loads of toys. That is also life, because if they're playing with them and moving them regularly, that's completely cool. And people often say, oh, you can't, I don't want you to come to my house. It's a mess. If I walk around a house that's like that, oh, this is great. It's lived in. It's a home. Great. But what I'm more concerned about, and what I'm more concerned of when it comes to the clutter, is the excess. The boxes, the storage boxes. I would just be putting a ban on storage boxes, because people see storage boxes as the solution to the problem. The problem is the excess in your house. It is not the storage boxes, because the storage boxes get filled and then they get put into an area and they get left there. Do they get used? Do they get opened? No. Well, very rarely. And then more stuff comes in, and then it's another box, and then it's more clutter. And then that's the clutter, because stagnancy creates dis-ease and disharmony, just like in your body physically. And we don't want any stagnancy in your body. We definitely don't want it in your home, because it's again reflecting back in some area of your life. Funny story about this one. So I did like a decluttering challenge in my community years ago, and my husband's name is Ken. And a lot of them knew me because I used to do a lot of work helping women attract their soulmate. And I've done lots of that, which is super fun. They've heard a lot about my story, meeting Ken and Feng Shui in my apartment, and then Ken Feng Shui at his place and all of this. Anyways, I did this decluttering challenge, and there was this woman who kept saying, I just want my own Ken. I just want my own Ken. Like, I want a Ken. Okay, great. Yeah. I was like, you're going to get your own Ken. Don't worry. Let's continue. So she's doing the decluttering, and she clears out her wedding dress. So she'd been divorced, and the wedding dress was in her bedroom closet 20 years or something crazy. And she's like, I've got rid of that. So she cleared out loads of spaces in her home, including the wedding dress. And she met a guy a few weeks later. He lived on the same street as her, and his name was Ken. So I'm not guaranteeing manifesting a Ken, like literally manifesting a Ken, but it's this whole thing of she changed the energy of her home. She opened up, she made space. And this again, for that fertility thing and for like calling in a child, is like, you have to make space in your life, in your wardrobe, in your house. So I had this beautiful actress who lives in LA, and we were doing the feng shui. She's like, I want to call the baby. I was like, okay, great. It will walk me. Show me where the baby's going to sleep. Let me see. Let's have a walk around the apartment. And she opens this room, like a full room, and there's just rails and rails and rails and rails of clothes. There's no space. Like, where's the baby going to sleep? So it's like, that was a whole wake up call because she was like, oh yeah, whether it's the storage containers or the racks of clothes or the wardrobe or whatever it is, as you do the fresh eyes, just look around for those areas because they are trapping something from moving and from flowing in your home.
But the other thing that popped in my mind here too is just beyond conception. I think a lot of people, we always say once the baby is born, you're becoming a new version of yourself. And that first year, you're so attached to your kid, but then you're also becoming this new version of yourself. And I think it's hard once you do have a kid in your life to forget about, or you might be struggling with other areas of your life or whatever it is, career, potentially relationship down the road. We can forget because we become so attached again to being a parent and like doing things for our kids of actually paying attention to our house for us versus for our children or for our family. So I don't know if you have examples of that, but when you were talking, I don't know, it just made me think of even like simple things and yes, clutter and excess. That's something. I live in San Francisco, so I think we're like okay with that because there's not too many places for storage boxes, but it's still hard. It's hard with a kid. I also was thinking we were talking about surrender a little bit before this. Letting go of things for people can feel so hard, but it is about surrendering all the time. And that's just another layer of when you release something, trusting that it's meant to be released. And if it's meant to come back to you, it will, which is really hard for people. Yeah. So many questions. I guess, I don't know if you want to touch on if you've worked with people post-birth, trying to find their life or struggles they might be
for sure.
After that. And then your question, we'll start with that one. Go ahead.
So just going back to that idea of the surrendering and the letting go for everybody listening, what's so important is that you becoming a good letting goer is basically infiltrating that into your children. So you really have to make an effort at this one. If you like holding on to things, is that what you want to be doing with your kid, fighting about their toy that they've had for 10 years? Well, it's a mirror. Like, hey, Presto, where did they learn their personality? They got their personality from you. And you know, it's the truth. And it's really important to recognize that whatever you are doing, it's going to mirror back into them. What do I want to instill in my children as a practice? And letting go is a muscle building practice. So as you start to let go of things, you're building that muscle. And what's important is to let go of the easy stuff first. Start with the Tupperware containers, whatever, start with the easy stuff. And then you can get to baby clothes. That can be really a tricky one for some. But unless, and like, even they're like, oh, well, maybe I'll have another baby. I'm like, yeah, but there's going to be a lot of children born in the interim that will need this. And then you can get some. It's a cycle. Yeah. So there's a very important thing of just like knowing that you are really the teacher in this field, and just be like, how do I want my children to be, and what's going to be important for me to actually show up.
Me too, because on the letting go aspect, I heard too that, and I tell my son this because we go through his toys twice a year. His birthday's in July, so about mid-year and then around December. And the way I get him to do it is I say, if you want new toys, you have to clear out space to get new. And I actually heard that philosophy. They're like, if you want new clothes, then you need to actually clear out some of your old clothes so you have space to fill it. And it was so amazing. Somehow you get new clothes when you actually clear out your closet space for new things to come in.
I get my clients, their kids, to list of the things of their dream things, like not even stuff, but more, let's make a vision board of like things you'd like to do, places you'd like to visit. So then it's less about the stuff and it's more about the experiences and the life and the vision for like, where do you want to go? How big fun things we could do, and how that kind of imagery and is really fun. So then it's like, as you create that, you're like, okay, well, there's 10 things on this. So now we have to make space for it. So that's like 10 things away, and kind of allow that space for being big and for imagination and creativity and manifestation. That kind of thing is super fun, and using it in the kind of instance of like letting go as well, because it is like making space. Yeah, for sure. So I'll continue because you were talking about the afterbirth and this new version of yourself. And what's beautiful about Feng Shui and your home is that every part of your home represents a different part of your life. So irrespective of whether you're just in kind of mom phase, there's still still going to be an area that's going to be your fame and reputation area, still an area that's your new beginnings area. And I typically don't really talk about much of these in terms of on a general call because it's really hard to kind of get into it all. But this happen lots of times with clients, maybe focus on balancing their house, because that's what we work with our clients, giving them the recommendations for every area of their home, the feng shui for your home, like acupuncture needles to balance it. When we start to balance it, it really, some amazing things can happen. So we've seen things like creativity just goes out the window. They've just been literally just like, oh my God, I've just decided to pick up a paintbrush and started painting. And now I'm selling my paintings. And they're like posting photos of their artwork that they've never painted before. And it's that sense of when your home is in energetic harmony. And I think this is a really important thing around kind of demystifying what feng shui is. It's not about the placement of the couch. It's not about where the door is. It's not like that is very much like the Western philosophy, whereas feng shui, from my perspective, is about alchemy with your environment and balancing it so that when your home is in harmony, all parts of your life are being honored. So what are the things that you want to focus on? And it gives them this opportunity to keep looking at that wheel of life because it's essentially all 9 areas. So even though you're in kind of mom phase, you still get to write down and look at your intentions for every area of your life. So it could be in terms of your career or your relationship or your health or friends and your community in the circle of friends that you're around. So we do look at that from a feng shui perspective. And I think it's just the idea even of the practices that I've said to people already, that alone of just moving around and shifting things, you'll start to see like space opening up in different areas. And again, don't be afraid of using artwork, making the house that vision board. Where would you like to go on holidays with? Or what are the things you'd like to be spending your time on? And like daydreaming that in, and using your home to support you with that is really helpful.
Amazing. I love that. I'm curious, just on the macro micro level, just as a side note in general for feng shui. So you have the map for with your home. Do you take that same map to each room as well?
So we don't typically do that. There's different schools of feng shui. The school of feng shui that I teach is the classical flying stars, which dictates that every house is unique. So I don't know if you've ever had an astrology reading, like with your chart, your birth chart done. And that's essentially what feng shui is. When I'm working with a client, I'm like working on the birth chart of your home. It kind of captures a specific energy when your house is built. That energy then will have a tendency toward good health or great connection in relationships. So we'll like use a Google Maps, analyze the location, and then the year it's built. It's super cool. When we work on houses, like I teach a certification as well, and it gets really fun. We study houses like O.J. Simpson's house, and look at this, look at these energies that were in that house, or look at this house. And we're like, oh, look at that's why that happened. Or there's houses that have literally, that have a tendency leaning towards a divorce house. Great if you're a really happy couple together, but if you move into that house, it's going to create a lot of tension in a relationship. And if it's not like a solid relationship, it's on the cards. There's that like prediction element, but we don't typically do that. That's not really into my world. The nice thing about the feng shui is that I can put an element into a house, into a certain area to balance it. Because it's traditional Chinese medicine, basically, for your home. So it's like, what element needs to go there to balance it? Unlike an astrology chart where you're like, well, this is me and I'm going to have to go through this and it's going to be hard. Whereas you can actually change the energy of a house, not necessarily a person or the cycles, the transits that it goes through. Now houses do go through certain cycles, and maybe this is actually super fun. Every Chinese New Year, the energy changes. So the cycle changes a little bit. I work with my clients to kind of just update the dial change. So you have to switch this and move this, and that energy is a little bit different here and it could be a bit trickier for this person. Let's help them this way. But this year, the feng shui has gone into a brand new 20-year cycle. The previous 20-year cycle was the energy of the number 8, which is era of the young man. So if you kind of think back and like what businesses flourished during that time, and you can think of Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos, all these young guys doing it like massive. We've moved in since and it would have been more, we've been feeling it, but it's basically the middle-aged woman. It's like us. It's our time. For everyone listening, it's our time. And it's a 20-year cycle. So we're just at the very beginning of it. And this energy is this kind of, it's very much like a phoenix rising. It's the fire. It's a fire sign. So it's ever changing. It's a very creative force, but also destructive. What's really important is like, if you're not in alignment and congruent with what you're doing in the world, if you're out of balance in any of those areas, going to burn it. You just have to really be very honest with yourself around your life, your values, your actions, your career, because this is that time. And it's really the time for women to shine and to share that light in the world and tap into every resource possible. So, you know, the idea of feng shuiing your home is going to be very important, because it's like, if you want to be supported fully to flourish, use everything. So it's let go of the old, focus on where you're going, get your environment set up to support you. There's a lot more esoteric things are going to be coming in. It's going to be way more time of like AI and technology. And with all of that comes with a caveat to stay grounded and connected to nature and tend to yourself. And because that fire energy can be so creative and so passionate and so amazing, but it also can be destructive and burnout and very difficult. That, especially in this cycle for families, with that energy, kind of fire element being the dominant energy, being really mindful of your relationships with your kids and your family. And there's anything that feels off, just like get working to balance it and to look after yourselves, because it's just a very dominant, it's like the dominant energy is fire, and we want to keep it in that creative energy and not anger outbursts. So, and if you do see that kind of thing, it's going to be a bit of a red flag in terms of the house. And actually, Jennifer, you said something about like those areas where the energy like keeps coming back.
Yeah.
You know, for me, that's like a red flag that the energy in that area is just not good. It's very low vibration. It's off, basically. Yes. And it's going to keep attracting it. And that's when I love this practice of feng shui, because I just know, I'm like, oh, well, I'd love to know myself, like, what's the energy in that area? And it's simple things can be put into like balance it, but it's depending on your house. Like it's unique to your home, but it can be interesting. And then it often then reflects out. So I did talk a little bit about the fertility area, because I think it's important for people to just acknowledge in your home there is a fertility area, and it's the New Beginnings fertility area in the west of your home. So you can just get a compass on your phone. Nearly everyone's phone now has a compass, and just even the general area of west, looking for that towards that area and just like kind of standing in it and saying like, well, what's here? Like, it doesn't matter if it's your bedroom, your bathroom. It doesn't matter what it is. It's more about just making sure there's like nothing broken, nothing not working in there. You could put some art of like, you know, just even think about like art that would represent fertility, not necessarily a pregnant woman, but it could be a pomegranate, lots of seeds. Or something like seeds, or, you know, like that kind of what feels that you could, but no one's going to walk in and be like, oh, that's a picture of fertility. Like, but you know what it's representing for you. And even just putting some intentions, like writing down some intentions or affirmations around, so grateful that I get a healthy body and it's the perfect timing, and I'm open to receiving and connecting with my husband, my partner, to call in a child and in divine timing, and just really putting some of that into that area is useful. And just that kind of having a look at that general area will be useful to clear out and make some space in it.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's interesting about the energy of the fire, because I've definitely have felt that already. Felt that creativity, wrote it out until lockdown, and then
and it's like watching that, really watching that, and being mindful of yourself. Take care of ourselves.
Well, I was going to say, I think it comes back to what you were saying before, especially we are the examples our children look to. So we're looking at these red flags and like words. So we're setting the example. I always say too, with partnership and connection, when we're talking about postpartum stuff, like everything starts with us. And so we have to build that relation with us. We have to do the balancing first in order for then like those ripples of like the family or the partnership, whatever.
Yeah. I was chatting to a friend of mine who's like has a new baby. I haven't met him yet, her little baby boy. And, I just said like, oh, like, is he the image of your husband? And she said, oh yeah, he's still the image of him, mini him, and with my personality. And I'm like, he wasn't born with your personality. You're just giving it to him. So like, what are the traits of your personality that you don't want him to have? Because they got to change. Or you're literally going to be deep working with your mirror.
So like, I'm so excited now to like go walk around my house, and I definitely want to go through and kind of like now look around and see what's maybe Because I'm a big believer in that whole like macro micro thing, right? So it is like a reflection in both. And I think what's interesting, I really love the Feng Shui philosophy that it's really about just balancing things. It's interesting that balance is I think is such an important word, because I think we have this tendency to think that it has to always maintain like the center point of balance. But really what I've realized is that balance is about just like kind of maintaining this threshold of like a between phase and not really going outside of that huge threshold, because it's not necessarily we're going to be at this balance point where everything's equal on both sides. It's going to be a constant.
Yeah. And it's like, as you described that, like at Michael Singer's place, and learning so much, but also just one of the things he talks about is the Tao. And the Tao, the energy of the Tao, the philosophy of the Tao is very connected to the Chinese way, allowing life to flow through you and allowing your home, like, and that's a really important part, is allowing your home to, it's not about like that perfection. It's the center line and it's moving. It's sometimes yin, sometimes yang, but it's that flow of life. And where there's no flow, or where there's a dam, like literally a big blot of clutter, it's stopping that flow. And then there's the visible, which is what we've talked about today. And then there's the invisible. And the invisible is like what we work with our clients. You're already identifying where the invisible is not happy, because it's where they kind of clogs up and you're like, oh, there's definitely something. And then that's what we do. That's what I do and help people with tapping into that. So it's supportive. And people will often ask me like, well, how do I know if my house is bad feng shui? I would say, well, I know you can tell me a bit about your life. Like, how's your relationship? How's your kids getting on? Like, how's your bank account? And I'm like, okay, your house is great or not great, because it's a mirror. And when you start to change the frequency and energy of your house, it starts to then change all the other things. And the fun part of this is that it's like the ripple effect. You're the pebble in the water, changing your environment. It ripples out to everyone. Honestly, I'm not joking. There is not a week that goes by that one of our members' husbands do not get a pay rise or a promotion or a win. They're the least attached to the entire process. Sometimes they don't even know it's happening. And then all of a sudden it's, oh, I just got a pay rise. Oh, I just got this. Oh, like I've just got stock equity in the company. It is continuous. And I laugh because it's a lack of attachment from the partners. The house is harmonized now, and then all the opportunities bob up. But the women obviously get these like they see amazing wins, but it's like that funny like dance that we see. And the kids, we have one lady, Tina, she joined and like did the remedies, and she's like, my kids were fighting every single day, every day, constantly. Now one waits for the other after school and gives them a big hug, and they walk home together. You know, I can talk about all the money wins my clients have had, but like, imagine the difference in that house. Like that's what this is about. It's about harmony, balance, everyone getting on well, and don't worry about the aesthetics. Like, we want the balance, energetic.
Where would you tell people to start? And then I'd love for you to speak more about like how they can find you and all that stuff. But just for somebody who's overwhelmed, don't even know where to start, like, what do you usually tell people to do? And then how can they dive?
Yeah, I would say like whatever I've shared here that resonates the most, like say, for example, for fertility, start in your bedroom. Actually, for anyone, I would be like, start in your bedroom. Where you sleep, you spend the most time, start in your bedroom. Make some space in your bedroom, clear it out, bring a picture of yourself and your partner or into the room, or bring a picture of a couple that resonates with your space. That's where I would just start there, because then there's a sense of accomplishment. Don't try and do fresh eyes and clear every area. Don't feel guilty or overwhelmed by every area. Just be like, oh, I'm going to do my bedroom. Or I'm going to just do my closet or the cupboard beside my thing, and start with one thing and do that. And then just after that, then your children's bedroom, because you have to show that you're looking after yourself first, and that tending to your home. I see it. We met a lady I went down to one of my clients, and two sisters who have done the program, and they work together. So I got to meet both of them, and it was so nice. I didn't realize they're actually sisters. I knew they did the program at the same time when they were friends, and I know they were sisters. So I got there and they were chatting, and one was saying her daughter was so anxious and now she's going to school and it's really good. But the other sister was saying about her son, who was he's a college student. When he put the remedy in, or the remedy was put into his bedroom, basically he got like his dream car at this discount, and all these things started happening, at the dream job. And now he's gone to America and they're in Ireland, and his friends are basically, and him are just like, have you still got that water feature on? Because she's like a water element in his bedroom. Have you still got that on? Should I bring one? Should I have one in my house? And like, these are like teenage guys. And I'm talking about the feng shui. It's fun that you can kind of do this and it can help everybody. But I just was laughing at, like, she was telling with these teenage lads talking about feng shui remedy. I was like,
cool.
The world is changing. We can make a difference.
Like, what we can pass on to our kids. I mean, I do little altars around my daughter when she was 4, I think maybe like 3.5 or 4. She started asking me, "Where's my? I want my space." And it's such a gift that we can pass on to our. Yeah, it's such a cool ripple effect.
Yeah, you start at home. Yeah. So I do have a mini course, and that's like $9. It's on my website, patricialohan.com. And that is the kind of next step in terms of learning about feng shui. It can really help you. And that's where I would say to people, and it basically walks through different house types, house shapes, demystifying it, some steps you can take around your home. And it's a really nice introduction into the journey of feng shui.
Awesome. And do you have a membership too, or?
Yeah. So I have my signature program, Powerhouse, and that program is where we do create bespoke program and reports for all of our clients. And once you come in there, you'll get a report for your home. We work with what you've got. There's no knocking walls. It's just all about like energy, putting the right elements in the right area to balance the home. And yeah, we've been running that for 8 years now. And it's amazing. Like, we just see incredible things happen for people when you start just like tapping into that energy in your home.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure like the mini course is a no-brainer, but I'm sure there's going to be people who want to dive deeper or work more closely or get more personal.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we'd love to have you. We've just an amazing community of women from all over the world, from every background and from every age group of mom you can imagine. It's beautiful, a very like-minded and supportive community. And like, everyone is like doing their bit to improve their environment. And then it just it ripples out, so that's it. When someone's feeling happier and more supported in their environment, they can help more.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we'll definitely link those in the show notes and all your Instagram and your social handles. And this was an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for coming on.
You're so welcome.
You said it's a topic that is not top of mind probably for a lot of people. I'm sure there's just simple shifts. I think that's what I'm taking away is like, it can be simple shifts. So I just really love the energy that you're bringing and how you're bringing this into the world, because it is definitely, as parents especially, it's those things where it can make things doable. So, yeah.
And just as you said that about parents, I want it to be like feng shui. And we have so many pictures of of moms doing like the space clearing with their kids and doing all the different exercises with their family, just getting everyone on board to do it together and looking at their rooms. So feng shui, that's what it's about, making it easy and fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Hey there, amazing listeners. We just want to say a huge thank you for tuning into our convo on the Just This podcast today. We appreciate each and every one of our listeners, and your continued support means the world to us.
If you enjoyed this episode and found value in it, we would be incredibly grateful if you could take a moment to leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform, or share this episode with someone you think would enjoy it too. Your reviews and shares not only motivate us, but they also help others discover our show.
We're also all about keeping the conversation going and hanging out with our incredible community. Head over to justthis.site, that's justhis.site, where you'll find additional resources, ways to connect with us, and join the conversation, plus some more goodies.
Thank you again for being a part of the Just This community. We'll be back soon. Until next time, remember to take care of yourself and embrace the wonder as you navigate this extraordinary adventure.